All right, we'll call the meeting to order, 4:31 p.m. First thing on our agenda is retake the votes in the March 2nd meeting. Um, one was approval of February 2nd, 2026 minutes, and also the approval for Dottie to go to the AWWA conference in Saratoga, April 14th through the 16th.
I make a motion to approve the February 2nd minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Then we have a motion to approve Dottie's trip to AWA conference.
Make a motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, so I was just going to clarify on this one. There is in the bylaws the ability to vote and appear virtually, but the piece that was missing is that you have to have a quorum in physical. So that's, I think we had 3 people at the time when these were taken. So that was my bad. I've got about 30 some towns I represent across the state, and none of them actually passed the resolutions needed to do this. So I never think about it and miss that. So it might be something we put on an agenda to discuss for the updated bylaws as we go through there.
It's in section 8, but yes,
Okay.
definitely need to be upgraded.
And the other piece with that is that law sunsets July 1st of this year. So we'll have to, it might make sense to wait and see what the state does, because they might extend it. They might just let it go. No one really knows until it happens.
Which law, the open meetings law or the?
Just that portion of it, as far as the virtual appearances at meetings that passed during COVID.
That as Doreen mentioned, that we need to pass, if that's the case, we need to pass a resolution and then have an open hearing or something. Is that right?
Yeah. So, yeah. And I think it's in the bylaws, but you would do, and I don't know if there was a resolution when it was put in the bylaws or not, but you would have to have a resolution. So I would say it probably makes sense just to do a resolution, just to kind of belt suspenders.
What is the process for doing a bylaw change? I know in different places I've been members of, like you would have to read it twice and then vote on it, like 2 months and then vote on it. I don't know what applies to this to do a bylaw change.
Yeah, I would have to look specifically. Off the top of my head, I don't have the answer.
Okay.
But every organization's different. Like some
Right.
not-for-profit organizations are going to be different than municipal.
Exactly. That's what mine was, is in not-for-profit. So.
And that's what makes it a little weird is most, towns typically don't have bylaws. You're going to have town code and local laws. But here you would have bylaws because you're not going to have like a zone code, town code,
Right.
that. So that's kind of where you put in your laws, if you will.
Okay. On to number 2, public participation.
Thank you.
Doreen.
So yes, at the last meeting, I was pretty certain that that was not a valid meeting since you didn't have a quorum. I was waiting for the attorney to say something. That didn't happen, so I brought it to your attention after the meeting. I've been to the town board has done this, the IDA, I've been to other meetings, and what you need to do, like the town would do a local law, but here you would do a resolution, but you have to do that after you've had a public hearing. You also have to establish written procedures for video conferencing. So, and then you have to make sure, again, that you have the quorum physically present. So, and the Office of Open Government has model laws out there for this, and written procedures you can use. So, like I said, the town has already adopted this, and several of the states. So I'm glad that's going to be addressed. Then the only other thing is in the IMA letter from the working group. Just a minor thing, there's 2 number 3s in here, and no number 4. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doreen. Yeah. Number 3, approval of March 2nd, 2026 minutes. We get a motion to approve the minutes from last month.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Yeah. 4, plant status report.
Okay. So March was a good month. We operated as far as production goes, our Average daily production was 13.28 million gallons per day, with a total production amount for the month of 345.35 million gallons. It's about a 8.63% increase from February. But if you compared March 2026 to March 2025, it's about a 3.9% decrease, which I think is a good song. Maybe use that leak in the city just part of our increased production. So
Yeah, the cemetery.
yeah, I think that's it, but we still need a little more time to tell. So overall, like I said, the plant operated normally. No major issues to report. We did retap the transformer last month, and the voltage was increased from 420 to 490 after retapping. There were no major issues when the plant was returned to service, except some LED lights failed, and a basin breaker transformer failed. So but those were fixed and everything is back up and running. There are some new EPA cybersecurity regulations that have been put in place. And they've always been there. It's just now they've been made into actual rules and that you can be held accountable for. So one of the things that I did was EPA has a free program where they can have a third party evaluation of your cybersecurity program. So we've been approved to participate in that. So we have a kickoff meeting later this month to see how we can begin the process. That will help us hopefully identify if we have any issues, where we need some improvement. And then once we have the reports that they'll provide us, we may be able to then participate in some grants because we don't have any formal documentation of the things that we need to grade our action. So other than that, that's all I have for the process.
Operating budget status, 5.
Yeah, so we are at 25% of the year, and some of our major normal operating lines are at 20% at most. So we're on target for that. Still our fuel and electric is going to be a concern as we progress through the year.
Okay. Number 6, old business.
They basically, everyone was able to make the meeting today as far as for an engineering update. We are meeting with the 2 candidates that we have for the comprehensive facility plan engineers on Wednesday. So we'll be meeting with them.
8 a.m. here?
8 a.m. here. Yeah. And so we'll be doing the interview process, and then from there we'll make our final determination of which engineer we'd like to go with. And then as far as the filter upgrade project, we are still, there's no notice or no information from the health department as far as the submissions of the project. EFC is still kind of hanging out there with some information that's still needed, and we're waiting. So the town needs to get some information.
Yeah, I seen that this morning.
Yeah, so, but the loan may not close until July. There's questions of whether or not we go into the bidding process beforehand. So we need to have a conversation with Erin and the finance departments of both the town and the city to determine what the next step is.
Do you want me to reach out to Minimal, or have you already contacted her?
She's been included in the emails. When Erin returns from her travel, I think tomorrow.
When I see her tomorrow, I was gonna remind her about it.
Okay,
So
thank you.
we'll have a better idea of that. Need to get things moved. So
It feels like we give them stuff and then
Yeah.
we need to give them more stuff. And then give them that and then they say, oh, and we need this.
That's like the underwriters when you're buying a house. They always need something else.
yeah,
EFC wants what they want, but when you want any answers from them, they take their time. It's the classic give and take.
So the comprehensive plan that do we write the scope or we tell them or they will?
We did a scope.
Okay.
They'll have a whole big, like 2.5 page scope of everything they were looking for. And then they bid on what it would take to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, so they supplied us with their proposals, jobs that they've already done that could fit along the lines of the items that we were looking for. And then their approach on how they would like to attack problems.
And so I think the last meeting, or the meeting before we had this, the power plant, the different proposals.
So Aaron's recommendation is that the electric study is part of this comprehensive facility plan, and that we're probably better off waiting to see what's incorporated in that.
That's
Not
included.
rushing and jumping through.
Okay. So that will be
That
part
will
of
be
that.
part.
Yes. That's all I wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Exactly. That was all she had for the engineering thing.
All right. Number 7, new business, revised IMA draft.
So gentlemen, would you like to join us up here so that you can share what we think?
You go to the outside, I'll go to the side. No, it's not.
Got a good seat right here next to
Not the way it
me,
is.
Bill.
This is weird.
Yeah.
Usually Bill and I sit on.
You guys definitely did a great job putting this stuff together, that's for sure.
Long time coming and a lot of work involved.
Yes.
It admittedly was a long time coming. I think
Yes.
stretched over a couple of years, I guess, and some of the work went back even before we officially started. I think as a committee.
Let me just start off with a couple of things. You'll notice there are a bunch of typos and there's some that was poor managed things that still quite all cleared up. And they will be including the one that Doreen caught. There is one substantive error, and it's in we caught it in the IMA itself, I think, but it was still working in the memo. It's in section 2. It's in the second paragraph or last, and it says biannual for this long range capital plan and budget, and it's meant to be, it should be biennial. It should be done every couple of years.
Yes, in the memo.
Oh.
Yeah,
What should it say?
it's
Instead of biannual strategic planning?
It's in number 2, Jim?
yeah. Towards the end.
In the memo, not in the actual.
In the memo, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh, I see.
I think.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
I think we got it directly in the IMA.
Sure, thank you.
You need the.
Second paragraph, and the statement that says, one of the things is being for every 2 years, essentially taking a look ahead and seeing what's on the horizon. Just coincidentally, for example, yesterday, I saw that the EPA suggests that they want to establish drinking water standards for microplastics and for certain kinds of synthetic chemicals, specifically pharmaceuticals. That would be the sort of thing that we'd want to make sure that we caught. You know, it's going to be a long time before the standards are set, but we should be thinking, okay, if those standards go into effect, what kinds of things are we likely to have to do? Are they going to be major? Are they going to be tweaking the system? I mean, for example, we've got an ozone treatment, which is pretty good, on breaking up some of the larger organic chemicals. So maybe we'd be okay on that score, but maybe we would. The whole idea is we wanted to make sure that we all sort of stop every so often. We put in every 2 years. At one point, we were thinking in terms of every 4 or 5 years. Back to, you're welcome to adjust that as you see fit. But to have at least some point where the water board collectively looks ahead and lets the city and the town know. Because I can tell you, having sat on both the town council and the town board, our heads are full of all sorts of day-to-day stuff, and the idea that we might have to make long-term planning, long-term budgeting with some infrastructure issues doesn't come up naturally. So we wanted to have something here that would trigger at least a moment where people stopped and said, okay, what's it going to be 10 years out? 5 years out?
Was there any, what was the reasoning behind the 2-year? You just sort of came up with that
Yeah.
number? Yeah, okay.
We thought it was a kind of a strategic plan that didn't require any action per se.
Right.
Either legislative body or by the
Right.
town board.
Right.
But just to kind of give a document that would lead into capital plans going
Okay.
forward
Okay.
and things of that nature.
I'm glad you mentioned the capital planning because was it Karen was here last month? And is the joint water board capital plan separate from the town and the city? Does it come up like a separate feature to be added in
Yeah,
to their capital plans?
it's separate. So we're still kind of new with the whole capital plan concept
Okay.
as well. And unfortunately, there was some confusion between everybody's what actually a capital plan is versus a capital budget and how those things are funded. Currently, and what we're going to begin doing is creating our capital plan so that anything that's large ticket items, $10,000 will be in our capital plan. But then we have to meet with finance to determine what truly is going to be a capital project versus what we need to get in our operating budget. On that process and figuring out how we're going to do that. The issue is still the price tag that's associated with some of our items is pretty big. So that's a whole other question on how the finance departments want to actually cover and fund that. Whether it's a separate fund that we want to develop that we are generating on a regular basis that we can pull from that's not quite capital but not quite operating, or if we're going to be borrowing for it all the time, and that's
Right.
their preference.
Because it just makes me think the town is all, I don't know, does the city, Joe, have a capital plan that you've been using? Do you
For
have
the last several, we do.
This is town.
So, yeah, we do. We have a process. This year, we're actually funding the process, but there has been a process in place for a number of years.
Oh, but the town never had one. But what we would do is look to the departments, and it makes me think that on that biennial basis, we kind of treat you like a department, even though we can't fund the entire thing. But
Yeah,
just to
and
wrap our heads around.
I do think that the town may have been left out of a lot of those conversations on capital projects or capital purchases prior to the discussion of having this plan.
I want to clarify that in the new IMA, there are 2 different capital budget items. One is every year.
Right.
And that is looking at the existing plan. What's it take to do necessary repairs, keep it up and running, meet regulatory rules. And the second one is intended to be a longer term capital budget.
And me and Manal talked about, trying to figure out, get all the water plant budget stuff before we go into our budget stuff.
Right.
So that way we're, it's incorporated in ahead of time.
Which we did try to do last year. I came to your budget meetings with a capital spreadsheet that we had been going off of. And
Yeah, and there's a little vagueness in the IMA about when these things should be done. Because we're dealing with, two municipalities that have somewhat different budget schedules. So we didn't think we were in a position to say, it's got to be July 1st or whatever. But we have a little operating room so that this can be done and worked into the normal budget process.
Tom, I just wanted to say that you're offending everybody with your Pullman spring swag here. How do you allow this?
It's not one inside. I mean, I can refilled it.
Oh, I'm deeply offended.
I just turned the label the other way. Turn it that way.
Yeah, so get some tape on that.
Yeah. I don't know what you're talking about.
I couldn't help it. I had to do it.
Well, that's what's in the capital plan, where it's filled another spot just to make seltzer water. Yeah, so town gets the seltzer water. So town city seltzer water.
there you go.
That'll be in the budget this year. So this is,
Oh, water.
CO2 and all.
okay.
So the purpose of the memo was really to kind of highlight some issues that the working group wanted to bring to the board's attention about certain pitfalls that might arise that we felt like were beyond the purview of the group doing the IMA. One of them is ownership. There's in some manner an unequal ownership, depending on what you're talking about. The property is owned 50-50 by each entity. The capacity of the plant is owned 10.66 million of 19.3 is owned by the city, and the town only owns 8.66 million. So there's that has resulted in some inequity in cost allocation over time. The operating costs are divided up and allocated based on consumption by the city and by the town. Generally, it's 50-50 or very close to 50-50.
It has varied.
It has varied. It has varied in years considerably, but for the most
Ways that I certainly don't know.
right. Capital cost, under the current IMA, the city actually, because it has more capacity, pays $10 more on the dollar for capital improvements. And we're recommending in here that we make an improvement in our budgeting process, and items such as a $100,000 or $150,000 pump out there be considered not just in the capital in the capital budget and the capital project, but be included in the water plant's operating budget, so it is divided equally based on consumption. We felt that that was perhaps more equitable. Another item was the administrative expense that the city incurs to administer the fund will continue to be 50-50. We haven't stipulated what that percentage should be in there, but we think we've made a pretty good case for the fact that it should be increased from the current 8%, which is split 4% each one, up to a higher number. Talks about the need to pay attention to emergency planning. It tries to define some of the administrative processes more precisely, which has led to contention in the past between the city and the town. We've tried to think of, we've drafted this document. We've tried to begin thinking of the joint water plant as a regional asset, maybe in the future, in 50 or even 50 years.
At some point, yeah.
But at some point, it could become a regional asset. I think the last paragraph of the memo says it all. We have worked collaboratively and congenially on this, which hasn't always been the case over the years. We think we've prepared a pretty fair document. It's about half the size of the other one in terms of number of pages. The original document is 31 years old now. And most of that 57-page document, I would say 2/3 of it roughly, dealt with the acquisition of the town's interest in the plant. And previous to that, the city had owned it entirely. So we've tried to realign duties and responsibilities of the joint board, of the city, of the business administrator, which is the city and town, and the water plant administrator. We've tried to better align those duties and responsibilities as our experience has lended out. People 30 years ago were well-intentioned in writing the document originally, but over time we came to find out that they didn't do it necessarily right. And so some modifications were made, and we've tried to formalize those changes in the new document. I think that is a pretty fair synopsis.
Yeah, no, you guys did a very good job writing and aligning, like, knowing what the responsibilities of board members are, plant manager, the town, the city, like in general, like it's very, very well written and constructed. So
Just wanted to get the procedure, just for the record. So the IMA workshop comes together, gives us this recommendation. We review, we send our recommendation to the town and the city, and they have to vote on it to change the IMA.
Yes.
Both have to agree, I believe in it.
So, okay, I just wanted to.
I think we would have to have a working group ourselves to go through this and, put our twist to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because then the final draft is what would go to the town and the city
Right.
Yeah.
to be voted on.
The next step would be the water board itself going through this draft and saying, we like that, want to change that, and doing whatever tweaks are necessary. And then
And then the recommendations of how to change that too.
Yeah.
It's like what the bigger picture, like, okay, if we change this, how's it really work?
Yeah.
Yes.
And probably you could come to some kind of consensus about some of these issues. What should the administrative costs be? What do you recommend in terms of the percentage? I can tell you from history that the 8% was decided out in the hallway here by Colette LaFuente and Tommy Murphy. And since they had both had recent experience with the county's materials recycling plant that's over here, they just used that as the model. And in their budgeting, they said, administrative expenses are going to be about 8% of the total budget. So that's the number they got picked. Based on almost no experience at all. And so you might want to, look through, this lead has done a study. The town has begun to look at this issue. And the two sides might want to come to some kind of agreement. Some percentage is what we recommend. Obviously, both county council and the town board is ratified this signed it. But I think they're going to be looking to you for some kind of guidance.
I think another major issue might be the third-party water cell agreements.
Yeah.
Those agreements are written, the agreement for the line that supplied water to IBM East Michigan, I'll say, has a term of 99 years on it, and there's no provision for revision to it. The two for the two Hyde Park districts, each one says the agreement shall remain in the agreement, third-party agreement shall remain in place as long as the distribution line that runs through the town to the interconnection points is there. So that to me says forever. and I just wonder if there wouldn't be some willingness to go to the County Water and Wastewater Authority and say, hey, do we have any room to move on some of these? The cost for the water accelerates based on the CPI. I don't know that the CPI is a valid indicator of that, because the cost of producing water I'm going to guess accelerates faster than the CPI does.
But I think with that, it depends. Because I was reading that earlier, I was like, well, what other indexes are there to go by? And so I was searching that and come up with BLS Producer Price Index, is Bureau of Labor Statistics Index.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, that's geared more towards the industrial end of water making. Where CPI is more of the residential end of it, I guess you
Yeah.
want to say. So I was like, well, that makes an interesting factor of how you would, what index we would rightfully use based on what we're doing.
The Engineering News Record maintains a number of indexes for different kinds of construction and for different kinds of costs. In the original IMA, it was the ENR, Engineering News Record Index, that was used to help establish the present value of this plant. And both sides agreed on that. So maybe there's some other index out there. You might want to do some kind of back of the envelope calculations about, what costs in fact are going into this, into our ability to continue to take water supply to these third-party customers. And so to me, it would include not only the operating costs, power, chemicals, basically, but also the ongoing capital costs, just to keep the plant running. So you could make an argument that certain kinds of construction indices might be more relevant. Certainly the consumer price index, the price of melted bread, pretty much irrelevant. But we did not go into the nuts and bolts of that, but we did notice that it seemed to be
So when the approval process happens, I speak for me, I think I can speak for Jim too. We'd be happy to participate in that and attend those meetings and answer any questions that give you the background for our thinking when we might have said something.
Right.
That this question was.
I think I had a question about costs. I've forgotten since last year, but what is about the percentage in terms of our total water production that goes to third party sales? Do you know roughly? Is it 10%?
It's on our Schedule C.
Is it 2 point something MPD on average?
What was the?
You got a gallon. We have a gallon number.
Yeah.
No, I feel bad. I don't.
That's okay.
That number
But
is off
about
the top of my head.
What percentage? Because I'm thinking if that goes into if this is increasing our usage and we're having this whole comprehensive study, is it because the third party
Yeah,
water?
I've been looking
I
at
mean,
that
if I-
because I have some
Percentage of how much goes to
Take,
third
Yeah.
party?
But our third
Okay.
party water sales
It's
is
not.
not changing at really.
Okay.
It's been for the past 10 years pretty steady. And then the current contracts are written as a take or pay, so they're paying for water even if at a different rate that they don't take, and that's a little bit of a higher rate than what they do take.
Okay.
So I remember something like a million.
I just wondered if it was increasing our usage.
The usage has been pretty steady. If anything, it might have even dropped a little bit. Because IBM, Global Foundries, 70, whatever they are now, is not taking as much as they used to.
Does it make sense to get 3 volunteers to be on the working group to kind of start taking that step to review and
Another step in the process, I think maybe a first step has to be, I would think the town attorney and the city corporation council and you maybe. Is that right? Would you? There should be, I assume, a legal review. So
Yeah, we certainly could do it now. It definitely makes sense before anything goes to the boards and council, definitely.
We should probably have a working group first. Ourselves, the board should have a working day to go through this stuff. And then whatever comes out of that,
To invite them to
then you bring legal in to hash it out before.
finance.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Yeah, and as it exists now, we've gone through just all the citations, any statute, anything that's referenced, just to ensure it's still applicable and just updating sections and all of that. So as far as the law that's referenced in it, it's all up to date. But I do agree. I think it probably makes sense to have close to a final document from the working group and this board, and then having the attorneys meet, hash out anything that might need to be done at that point, and then make the final presentation. Sure. To get it ratified by the individual boards.
Do we want to set a date for a working group for the board? To go, or do you want to wait a month, or do you want to do something at some point this month, and then we can have it a report for May, and then the month of May we can take it to the next step, and we can.
I think we should do something this month, because how many months has it been since we've never looked at the bylaws?
Exactly. Okay. Well,
We have the bylaws and we're like, oh, well, once we get the IMA, then we'll look at the bylaws. Okay.
We did write that as a requirement, responsibility of the board. I'm away next week. 11th to the 18th.
I guess maybe the first question is, do you want to do it like a workshop with the whole board open to the public, or having a less than quorum working group? And I mean, that's all board preference as far as that goes.
How long do we think it's gonna take to review this?
I mean, Jim and Bill and Brian put in lots and lots of.
have you read the whole thing yet?
I mean, I'm sure there'll be some nitpicking.
So basically, we all got to read it, reread it,
Right.
and pick up your bullet points.
Right.
So you take your bullet points plus with the recommendations from them,
Right.
and then we have to put it all together from there. So like, it's a good read. It takes a little time when you interrupt multiple times a day. I can tell you that. Like, where did I leave off on this thing?
But I think this could be a year of us discussing this.
Well, it's definitely going to take time.
It's going to be longer than a couple of meetings.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, like this is not just gonna be,
No, it's not. It's just we got to start. That's it.
yeah.
Because you're going to have to go through each topic. Each topic would probably be its own meeting almost, I think. So some you might be able to. You might be able to.
Certain ones that are gonna be longer than other
Right.
discussions, but.
That's what I was gonna suggest.
There's two different schools of thought. I know, at least I'll speak for the city, where I know like Councilmember Turner wasn't able to make it this evening. But I think it would be good to have the elected body, at least on the city side, involved in the working group in the event we do that, because then they're going to act as sort of the advocator on behalf of their other colleagues who would have to vote in favor. Knowing that everyone's schedules are tight and busy, I also could appreciate holding this all sort of accountable and keeping our nose to the grind, and having this be an action item for each board meeting as well too, where we discuss specific action items, or we plot it out the month before. I do like the working group idea. I think that could be maybe help expedite the process. But at the end of the day, I think we're going to have to circle back and discuss it with the board here, and then our respective elected boards as well too. So Bill, I think this is a great accomplishment. I know it's been a long time coming. I really appreciate all the work that was put into this, and I know Dr. Martinez was involved as well too. And I think we have to just I think we have to put this on the agenda for the remainder of the year at every meeting. I think we have to plot out what exactly we're looking to accomplish, and then we could have a working group meet simultaneously in between the meetings to sort of flush out some of the things that we'll be discussing with the board. But if we were to sort of do those two things at the same time, it could hopefully be a productive process.
That's a good idea, just because, look at today, we just had 5 members, so I think it would be helpful.
So we'll have a working group to review it, and it's a small group, and bring back those specific items that we want to discuss each meeting.
Except not these meetings here will run forever, and then we've all been here all day, so our brains aren't as sharp as when we're doing something early in the morning or earlier in the day.
And I will just also point out that in the task items for the comprehensive facility plan evaluation, how the board operates is also things. It might be some input as we discuss.
Well, I brought up the bylaws. Do we do the bylaws after we sort out the IMA? Then look
I
at the bylaws?
think so. Yeah, so
or
I would think, I would think that you would do it,
At the
do
same
you have a
time.
reorg meeting in January? Do you have a reorg meeting in January?
Yeah.
That would be, to me, the time to do it. Then. I don't think there's any need to start doing that. I mean, other than the fact that it's obvious that the need is there to do it, I don't think there's a time schedule to get that done. We didn't.
Wouldn't the bylaws be attached to this?
I would think the bylaws are a sub document of this that governs the work.
Actually, they probably should stand alone.
Yeah.
This is an intermunicipal agreement.
Yes.
Bylaws typically adopted by an organization just for itself.
Well, yeah, the bylaws would govern more how the board
And
operates.
they
Right.
can amend
Or the intermunicipal governs the
That's-
town and the board.
That's the board.
Town, city, and board.
That's the board's prerogative.
Yeah, and Phil can correct me because I'm kind of doing this off here. We had initially planned in our memo to have a separate item in there saying, the board should revisit its bylaws. And as we went through and were defining duties of the board and finance administrators, business administrator, it rarely came up that there were specific issues where we said, oh yeah, should make sure that it's in the bylaws before it does this, that, or the other thing. What did come up in our discussions is a sense that serving on this board is a serious matter. And that in our collective experience over the years, there have been times when the board has probably not been as effective as it might be. And a couple of reasons for that. And one was a rapid turnover. As we went through what the board needed to do, it was clear that understanding how the plan works and how the budget works, and what water technology is, and how the plant interfaces with both the distribution systems and all of that. It's not easy. There's a learning curve, and so I think we came out of it thinking that as long as the board was strong, prepared to do its homework, and had some kind of continuity. So details of the bylaws would not that important. And is that?
Yeah, that's
where
pretty much
you're saying.
We actually, some of us, me being one of them, thought there should be some training requirement to be on the board, a tour of the plant, a tour of the distribution systems. Maybe so you help me with that.
Well, it's understanding where it goes from A to B to C is crucial in understanding it all too.
Process. A little bit of training, I think, would required training would be worthwhile. I think it could be just that simple, but it could be more extensive also. I don't know what kind of courses are offered or anything. Tom's a great source. Violi is a great source. Chris is a good source.
EPA also offers some free courses related to water treatment plant.
I'm curious about the board makeup. Have you found over your 10 years with the towns and the cities, was there ever a time where the board was firing on all cylinders? And if so, did it have anything to do with the makeup of the board, whether or not you had subject matter experts, whether it be from finance or operations, as well as the elected body on the board all working together? Perhaps that could be a avenue, because we're oftentimes I'm interacting with the finance department a great deal about the water board activities. I know the town is doing so as well too. And of course, this is more of a long and drawn out question, more so regarding the bylaws. But I think having a little bit more involvement from some of the departments that are helping all of us do the job of the board could be beneficial as well too. And buy-in and awareness of where going from A to B and everything, just having it all make a little bit more sense to the folks back at Town Hall and City Hall.
Yeah, I mean, I think the format of the meetings is good. You've got experts here typically. You've got an attorney here.
Yeah, oh, sure.
Have an engineer here. Those people are critical, for the board meetings to provide guidance, I think. But I think it would be helpful if people were, people could be taught to view it as more than an hour a month you got to go to. I'll call it what it is.
Well,
What I think it is. Anyway.
This is the start of my third year here, and there's not the animosity that I heard there used to be. Like there used to be knock down, drag out.
I was
yelling.
I can attest to that.
I was almost a territorial.
You didn't want to come to the meeting. It sucked.
But I used to go to the meeting.
The city be on this side, town be on that side. It was just like, okay, let's fight for an hour. It was awful.
Nothing gets accomplished.
3-3, vote 3-3. Okay, see you later.
Made tremendous progress.
Yeah, I don't mind coming to the meeting. It was bad.
But I think Bill's right. It is not just a regional, it is a resource.
Yeah.
It's a resource that affects every single human being in the town and the city and.
And I know from working in other towns, there's problems with water contamination is becoming a problem throughout Dutchess County. There are, how many water districts are there in Dutchess County? It's well over 100, right?
Over 400. We're actually,
okay.
I'm sorry, I'm Jonathan Parents, that's
Okay, thank you.
The answer would be, we are number one in New York State for the number of small water systems that exist in this county.
Right.
In the nation, we are fourth. It is not something to be proud of.
No. Yeah.
And there's a great need for the water that comes from the city and town water plant. And I come to these meetings just to listen.
Yeah.
And, hope to share when I can. So.
We kicked it around in our meetings and said we want this to be directed to become a regional asset.
Right.
So it's there to serve the county.
I think
whatever we can to do that.
You're right about having the electeds on the
Elected official, one finance member.
I could see us doing all this work, going to the council, and they go, and you go, oh man, we worked hard on that. Like you guys come to us, and we're actually gonna go through it and make it,
come to life.
Right. But when it goes to the various that's I don't know.
Council member Tuna would be the perfect champion.
Yeah. Like you kind of need that to say, hey, I worked on this.
Yeah.
I agree.
I think the idea of having maybe a member of the legislative body be part of the working group is probably a good idea to carry that message back to them.
And maybe finance from both sides too,
No, ultimately, with a complicated member, issue like this, many elected officials are going to look to, the experts, did the finance people look at this? Did the lawyer look at this? Did our engineer look at this? And if everybody says, yep, it's pretty hard to stand there in public and denounce something that your own people have said it's okay. Although it's happened, been in meetings where it has happened.
Jim has been on board, right? You've been on the board.
Yeah.
So homework, what do we gotta do?
So
Everyone has to read it. What we're gonna bring back to the May meeting.
I would bust it up into sections. Like, let's do a section, a meeting,
Okay.
right? Like,
Okay,
so you can chew on it.
Okay.
We could put a smaller report between, or do you?
I'm not hijacking it. I'm just saying that's how I wouldn't say, hey, let's look at this whole thing and.
I would like you to read the memo too. Read the memo and understand some of the issues that we see potential problems arising.
So is it agreed that we're just gonna ourselves dig into this more this month? And then when we come back in May, try to establish something? Or we want to try to hold our feet to the fire here and work on something with a group this month?
Well, Yeah, I would agree. First, read the memo and then read the first few sections of the IMA, the recitals.
Yeah,
The history, there's a history section in there that tends to be helpful. There's the scope of the project section. And then kind of the way the working group went through this, if you kind of focused on the hours and duties of the board, administrator, business administrator, and we pretty much did those, 1, 2, 3.
yeah.
And then there were a bunch of other issues, capital, budgeting, first party, and
Yes.
approach.
Yeah, which was basically the same as was in the original document.
So that's kind of how we chat with us, but,
Hey, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't both the town and the city's finance staff involved in this IMA working group as well too? Yeah, right, okay. But legal has not, corp councils or outside counsel has not. Not necessarily you, but from the respective municipalities.
The town was on the beginning part of the meeting.
yeah, but not in, when we got into the
Right.
text of this.
Yeah.
And,
I get,
Manal,
Yeah.
had, I think, stayed in touch with it, but she was not part of the discussion.
She did review the.
I mean, we pretty much relied on Dylan
yeah,
to make sure that nothing that we did was violating any state laws.
Yeah, my recommendation would be to parcel it out, whether it's one section or two sections for each meeting rather than the whole thing. And that's just right now, like for my law firm, I'm on the committee to review and redraft a partnership agreement because I raised my hand for that choice. And the first one, we attacked the whole thing and it was chaos.
Yeah.
But now we've been doing just one section each meeting and getting some things done. So I think it's probably, most effective to do it that way.
Can I make a suggestion that we, this month, we look really carefully at the memo, sections 1, 2, and 3. And then I would imagine that at the next meeting, after we've all read it, and Daniel will be here, we'll probably have a feeling for who wants to raise their hand after they've read it. Is it like something that, oh, I have no idea what's going on. I wouldn't be a good person to be on a subcommittee. Or some people would say, oh, this makes a lot of sense. I'll be on the little subcommittee. And I think that smaller group should convene when there's a sticking point. When together we're like, I don't know, it should be 8%, 10%. What should the administrative cost? Like maybe that could be the little smaller group that goes off and decides, brings it back to the board and says, okay, we think we come up with this idea because we spoke to finance. We found out, what percentage is coming from the city, whatever. When they have to do like that detailed kind of look. Does that make sense? And so.
yeah, I think it does. And I mean, another question that I'd sort of just pose to the group, that we don't need an answer now is whether or not you need to be a board member to be a part of the working group as well, too. Because I think having both, chief elected officials from the two municipalities involved and potentially the working group could also help expedite the overall approval process because they're going to both have to be in agreement with it as well too at the end of the day.
I think that's actually a good idea. Rebecca was involved in the process.
She was involved for
Yeah.
quite a
Yeah.
long way into the process.
Not so much in the last year.
Right.
They had to start. So I think that's probably a good idea because that'll help expedite things. The board will be, each of the boards will have an influence from town. So
And we won't be the only, like Shanta and I won't be the only spokesperson when we go back to town.
Right.
To explain it.
Like almost like having Dottie sort of be the chair of the working group with the two elected chief officials from each municipality. I'm happy to be on it. I'm sure others would be happy to be on it. And I do think though that there's a lot of merit to Tom's point, holding our feet to the fire and having this be an agenda item for every meeting. Otherwise, it's just I think time is going to go on and
We don't want all the work that you guys have
right,
done
exactly.
to fall apart and then
We don't want that either.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
so our homework as teacher is
So we're reading,
letter.
we're reading the review of the.
Do as much as we can, but we'll come
Yeah.
back and talk about 1, 2, and 3 and the.
Yep, and there'll be a test on it too, so make sure you read.
and then we'll decide who's gonna be on that committee, back in other suggested names.
Yeah,
and
we
then
could-
we'll form it that way.
We could reach out to the town, you're gonna reach out to the city and see what's the plan.
All right.
And like you said, the working group wouldn't necessarily need to meet all the time. It
No.
would be over
There's
the
a-
sort of the more contentious items, if you will,
Sure.
where you need to reach some type of
Or
consensus.
something that you
couldn't be-
need to go
Right.
back and research, so we can't
Right.
sit here and answer it today,
Right.
because we have to
Right.
go talk to these people.
Right.
And then they can always watch our video.
Exactly.
Get caught up on what.
Oh, I do that anyway. It's
So-
amazing.
You're watching it every.
What I do, it's amazing.
Okay. Is there anything else on the new business? Anybody else have anything else? Jonathan? All good? What's floor's quiet? Doreen, do you have anything else?
Thank you.
All right. The motion to end the meeting at 5:27 PM.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
All right, so have a good night.
I'll get you, we'll get that.